I'm not going back to Haiti.
Well, he's wrong. He's going back to Haiti.
Hello, welcome back to DwreckTV. I'm Dwreck, and this week is going to be all about the all-famous PlayStation 3. The PlayStation 3, wow. This thing came out at around the same time as the Nintendo Wii, and both of them came out a year later after the Xbox 360. But to me, what I have to tell you about the PlayStation 3, it definitely had a lot of shoes to fill, especially coming off of the PlayStation 2. Just like how the PlayStation 1 was one of the biggest things to come out during that time, especially being the first full-on CD-based console to really hit the mainstream. Then PS2 came around and took that to a whole nother level, especially being able to play DVDs. That was a huge game changer. And as far as the PlayStation 3 goes, it takes that to the next level, especially added in Blu-ray. Especially when during this time when Blu-ray movies were just becoming prevalent, there was also a lot of people's first Blu-ray player, which was also mine as well. But for me personally, when I think of PlayStation 3, I think of, much like how I said during my top 10 Wii games, how the Wii represented my 20s from like age 21 to like 27. The PS3 pretty much is like a continuation to that. But I'd say the PlayStation 3, like I said, represents pretty much my 20s and just a lot of ups and downs during that time, especially with work and finances, and also like failed relationships, and then finally getting with my girlfriend, now wife, and especially my nieces and nephews being born during this time as well, throughout this era. But other than that, the PS3 has a lot of great games. But as many great games that it had on this console during this era, a lot of the games were also prevalent on the Xbox 360. So the Xbox 360 and the PS3 pretty much had that same exact library of games. Aside from like maybe a handful of exclusives here and there. But especially when it comes to the Wii and everything, if you had the Wii, you either had the PS3 or the Xbox 360. So pretty much either one of them were good to have with the Wii. But the PS3 was great because it had a Blu-ray player and everything. And the online, this was one of the first consoles I ever went online with. And it was actually pretty cool, like being able to download DLCs and everything. This was also, like I said, during the time when DLC started becoming prevalent. Like, wow. Especially on wrestling games where you can download wrestlers that weren't on the game itself, but you like download wrestlers and everything. Like that was pretty amazing. And it also had acted as much like with the PS1 and PS2, you can play music CDs on this as well. And you can also, just like with the Xbox 360, you could put your songs on the hard drive. Wow! That was actually pretty amazing. I really like those concepts with during this era where you can actually play music, and you also rip the songs off the CD onto the hard drive, and you can play them in the video games. That was actually really cool. But I didn't get my PS3 until like late 2008 going into 2009, because this was also a time when I first had the Xbox 360, and then I finally got the Wii around mid 2008, like I've said before. But at first I didn't want to get the PS3 because I just felt like I got the 360, so I can just pretty much get the games on that. But the one person that was convincing me to get a PS3 was the same person that was convincing me to get a PS2, my father. My father was convincing me to get a PS3. because you can play Blu-rays just as well as DVDs. And like I said, Blu-rays were becoming a very prevalent thing during this time, so I thought, okay, we can probably get it. And then after months and months just pushing it back, then we finally were able to get a PS3. And also, this was during the time when I started DwreckTV. So pretty much when I got the PS3, it was like 4 or 5 months into my tenure doing DwreckTV. So I didn't have it when I first started, but definitely by the time 2009 came around, that's when I got the PS3. So exactly what are DwreckTV's top 10 games on the PS3? Well, like I said, a lot during this time, a lot of games were also prevalent on the Xbox 360. But it was also around the, I wanted to get games that were like PS3 worthy, like games that I thought would be perfect for the PS3, and also got games that was like perfect for the 360. So that's pretty much how I divided which games to get for PS3 and the Xbox 360. Especially like I would get Capcom games, Konami, some SquareSoft, and like the exclusives on the PS3, and I would get Rare games and Sega games for the Xbox. But I'll get to that in a later video. But let's talk about PS3 games. What are my top ones? I had a stack of PS3 games, but then sometime down the road I got rid of some of them because I wanted to get games on the Xbox because my wife, she was the Xbox girl. And also I rented very, very little games on the PS3.
Let's wrap it up. Better wrap it up.
Before we get to it, let's get to the honorable mentions. So let's check out honorable mentions for the PS3. First up is one of the last games I got for the PS3. It's the PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royal. This is the PlayStation's answer to Smash Brothers. It has a whole bunch of PlayStation characters. It's got Jak and Daxter, it's got Nathan Drake, Cole, it's got characters from Killzone, Parappa the Rapper, and even Kratos from God of War. This game was really cool. I really loved the concept of it, but the one thing that really bothered me about this is they failed to have Crash Bandicoot and Lara Croft. The two characters that really cemented PlayStation in the early days, and they couldn't put them in this game. That's like a travesty. But the Smash Brothers version of PlayStation is pretty good. Another one that was good is Devil May Cry 4. In this game, you got a new character. His name's Nero, and he's actually pretty cool. And having Dante in there as well, this game was really cool. If you like all the Devil May Cry games, you're gonna like that one. Also, ones that were worth getting. I used to have these, but then I got rid of them. But I'm starting to get them back, and it's the UFC games. The UFC games were actually really cool, and they were very, very brutal. UFC, the one I got right now is UFC Undisputed 2010. It was very fun. They got a whole bunch of fighters. They got a deep career mode, and they got 9 different fighting styles. And this game was really cool, and I really liked it. And I used to have the Undisputed 2009 and Undisputed 3, but I will get those back again. Another one that was really good, I got this from my best friend Big D. It's Dark Sector. I really liked this game. You become the ultimate weapon. You use a big old razor boomerang to take out the enemies. But this game was really cool. I highly recommend Dark Sector. And another one that was Max played this a lot when it came out. And this is also probably one of the later PS3 games that was actually really good. Twisted Metal. This game was absolutely fantastic. It was nuts. It was absolute mayhem. And I never really played too much into the Twisted Metal games except for like number 4 from an old neighbor of mine. But Twisted Metal was fantastic. I absolutely loved this. The graphics were great. The controls were really cool. The characters were just bonkers. But I highly recommend Twisted Metal on the PS3. Alright, 2 more. Oh man, and Big D played this a lot. Is Bleach Soul Resurrection. Just like how we was playing with Bleach Shattered Blade on the Wii, we played the Soul Resurrection a lot. This game was fantastic. The graphics were absolutely fantastic. The art style, just like how it was for the anime, and the music on this is probably one of the best musics I've heard on the PS3. especially the main menu theme was probably one of the best I've ever heard on the PS3. And then finally, for honorable mentions is a game that came bundled in with the system, and that's Metal Gear Solid 4: Guns of the Patriots. This game was absolutely fantastic. The stealth was at its peak. The character, Solid Snake, was he was an old man in this game, but he still moved like he was in his 30s. But this game was absolutely fantastic. I really liked it. Alright, honorable mentions are out of the way. Let's jump into DwreckTV's top 10 games for PlayStation 3.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. You've seen that seeing is believing. Your ears and your eyes will be bleeding. Please check to see if you're still breathing. Do you want it? Do you need it? Let me hear it. Ladies and gentlemen, do you want it? Do you need it? Let me hear it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Please come inside. Ladies and gentlemen, do you want it? Do you need it? Let me hear it. Ladies and gentlemen, do you want it? Do you need it? Let me hear it.
Only on PlayStation 3, starting at $3.99.
And now, DwreckTV's top 10 PlayStation 3 games. Far out, dude. Number 10.
Number 10 is a series that I used to have on the PS3. I used to get these a lot, but then I just got rid of them because I just saw no use from them anymore, and I just got pissed at them. But the one that I did keep, it's WWF SmackDown vs. Raw 2011. I did used to have the SmackDown vs. Raw games from 2006 all the way up until 2013. 2006 was all right. 2007 was the leap to the full HD, and it looked fantastic. 2008 was just abysmal because of the whole new styles and everything. 2009 was all right, but it just got kind of redundant. 2010 was absolutely miserable. But something about 2011, it just sparked that excitement between me and my co-workers at my old job, especially when it came to my old co-worker and my old friend Enforcer, his brother Punisher, and a few other guys that we was friends at work, like a guy called Greatness, a guy called Blade, and a few others, especially with my friends Robert and Duke and my friend Carshley. But in this game, you create everybody. We got like 70 different pro wrestlers on the game. And what's cool about this game was the universe mode. My friend Enforcer, he was all over the universe mode, and we created our guys. He created his guy. I created my Ace Carino character, and his brother Punisher created his character, and I pretty much created all the guys that we were friends at my old work on this game. We were just having absolute mayhem and absolute fun with this game. We was having our own storylines and everything, and it was just absolute fun between all of us. The graphics on this game were really good. The controls were okay, but not the best, but it was good for what it was. Also being able to download wrestlers and everything, especially with Bret Hart, it was actually pretty cool. Between me and my friends at work, this game was really good. Even though I got rid of a lot of the other SmackDown vs. Raw games because they really started to become redundant around this time, but there was just something about 2011 that really caught our attention and really got us really excited for. So, out of all the SmackDown vs. Raw games, 2011 is very sentimental to me, and it was very enjoyable between me and my old co-workers.
Number 9.
All right, number 9 is one of the first games I played on the PS3, and I just thought this game was amazing. Yeah, it's Ratchet & Clank Future Tools of Destruction. This was Ratchet & Clank's first jump to full HD, and this game looked absolutely amazing. The graphics, the art style, the aesthetics of the game, it just looked amazing on the new hardware, and the cutscenes looked like something that straight out of a DreamWorks film. The game is pretty much what you expect out of the Ratchet & Clank. You go around, you take out the enemies with off-the-wall guns and gadgets, and you also go on a journey to find Ratchet's Lombax people who've been known to be either extinct or long lost. The game even incorporates some motion control similar to the Wii's motion, but it doesn't really last that long. And the worlds are very vibrant and lush. The backgrounds look very amazing in a way it seems like it was hand-drawn and made into 3D. The voice acting is corny, but it's pretty good, but it really was made for a family-friendly crowd. I didn't play too much of the Ratchet & Clank games, but my nephews did, because when they was born, they was like around maybe 3 or 4 years old, they was playing the Ratchet & Clank games, and they absolutely loved it. They loved all the Ratchet & Clanks, they loved all the, like the Crack in Time, and the Quest for Booty, and the All for One, and even Tools of Destruction. This game was very cool. I really liked it, especially with it being from the PS2 jumping to PS3, it looked amazing. The graphics looked amazing, the gameplay was very fun, very fluid, just what you expect out of a Ratchet & Clank game. Very straightforward to the point. The story is pretty cool, the environments are great, and I highly recommend, I recommend every kind of Ratchet & Clank game on the PlayStation for anybody, whether you're a seasoned veteran of 3D platformers or if you're a family man with kids and everything. Ratchet & Clank is definitely great for families.
Number 8.
Next is quite possibly one of the best racing games I've played on the PS3, if not of all time, as a game simply called Pure. This is an ATV racing game, and the controls are so fluid. This game is just one of the most enjoyable racing games, one of the most enjoyable ATV games I've ever played. Much like how it is on like ATV Off-Road Fury and the MX versus ATV games, this game was just, you do a whole bunch of tricks, you go through racing and such, you race through tracks and you unlock things and attributes for your ATV. You pull off spectacular tricks and massive jumps to experience the exhilaration of Vertical Rush. You can also race online against 15 other racers in adrenaline-fueled off-road events. And you can also build and customize your ATV from the ground up with a whole bunch of combinations. And the soundtrack on this game is actually really good. It's very adrenaline-fueled, and you'll be listening to it for weeks and days on end. And even, funny thing, when Mick Foley went to TNA, his theme song from TNA fits perfectly with Pure. Absolutely. Pure is pure excitement, pure adrenaline rush, and it's purely number 8 on my top 10 for the PS3. If y'all haven't tried this, y'all really gotta try it. And especially being from Disney, like, dude, the developers need to, why it's never been made into a series is like a travesty. Because they're sitting on a gold mine with this kind of game. Definitely, if y'all got a PS3, pick up Pure, because this is pure excitement.
Number 7.
Oh, this game right here. It's games like this during this era that I absolutely freaking loved. And that's a game called Infamous. This game was absolutely one of the best games I've played during this era. Not just this game, but like just games like it. The adventure aspects of it, of a 3D Roman platformer, and you just going around like big old sandbox areas, just jumping around and taking on enemies and going through objectives and everything. It is absolutely freaking amazing. In this game, you're jumping off rooftops, you're shooting electricity and gliding up and down on rails and high wires, Infamous is one of the coolest PS3 games I ever played. Not only is it a great platformer, but you also got to be careful with what you do, because everything you do has a consequence. You can either choose to do good, or you can also choose to do evil. I choose to do good. But you play as Cole, he gets caught up in an explosion from a package that he was supposed to deliver. Then he wakes up, the city's all in freaking shambles. And now he got electric powers that make Electro look like Megavolt. Then you go around town, you beating up the Reapers, and you're also taking on asshole authorities, all while looking for those who set it off in the first place. The story is pretty slow, but told brilliantly, bringing the conspiracy into focus as the game goes on. The characters are pretty good and well developed. The things you can do in this game, like throw electricity grenades and shoot missiles and gliding, is pretty awesome. I did play a little bit of the second one, but there's something about Infamous that I really liked. I like Cole's character, I like his aesthetics and everything. If there was a Halloween costume for Cole, I would definitely dress like him for Halloween, but absolutely, Infamous and games like Infamous are absolutely what I loved about this generation. The 3D rolling platformers in a freaking huge ass world. It is absolutely amazing.
Number 6!
Dude, when I heard this, I just thought this looked like a really cool game, and not many people that I know played this game, but when I played, this was like one of them like hidden gems that I gotta put to light. Enslaved Odyssey to the West. This game, just like with Infamous, is one of the best type of games I love. The 3D adventure, open world platformer. The environments range from wild inner cities being overrun by nature to industrial complexes. The platforming is very fluid and really follows the trend of action platformers of this era. The jumping is very limited to spots where it's pretty much allowed, which I really didn't have much of a trouble with. And the combat is very straightforward and to the point. The characters Monkey and Trip. Monkey's a big, strong brute, and he's got to work with a tech-savvy partner, Trip, and they go along getting good. They traverse through a rough, apocalyptic landscape to try to survive the perilous journey home. And along the while, you meet a whole bunch of crazy characters and everything, but this game was absolutely amazing. There was something about it. When I played it, I was like, this was one of the best games I've ever played, especially on the PS3. And like I said, I'm big for platformers, and this was definitely no exception. One of the best games I played of the era, and I highly recommend Enslaved. If you've never played it, get a PS3 and get Enslaved. It is one of the best games I've ever played on the PS3.
Number 5!
Sorry, been having back problems lately. But anyway, number 5. When this game was announced, and when gameplay of it was revealed, me, my cousin Max, his brother Roy, my brother-in-laws, and a lot of my friends was all over this. This game was absolutely wonderful. And the name says it all. When this came out, we was all over this game. This game was absolutely amazing, fantastic, awesome, all rolled into one. I have played the original Mortal Kombat on the Super Nintendo and the fourth one on the N64, and even Deadly Alliance on the GameCube and the PS2. But when Mortal Kombat, well, I call it Mortal Kombat 9, when this came out, it was the talk of the town. It was the game that me, my friends, and my relatives was playing all weekend. This game had everybody just about. It had pretty much everybody that was on the first game, the second, and third game was all in this game. It was absolutely amazing. The graphics were absolutely fantastic. The art style, the aesthetics of the game was awesome. And the combos and everything is all here. And what was cool about this game, what made this Mortal Kombat stand out from all the others was the X-ray combos. When you hit the X-ray combos and you see the freaking impact and just bones cracking and blood splattering, it's like boom! And It freaking shaking them and everything. And boom! Oh, it was freaking awesome. It was freaking amazing. You want to talk about brutality? This game was brutality at its finest. This game was awesome across all boards, on all the charts. This game was freaking awesome. You know, on the PS3 version, you can play Kratos as an exclusive character. I thought that was pretty cool. But all in all, Mortal Kombat 9 was absolutely amazing. And just seeing freaking bones crunching and fucking blood splattered everywhere was fucking awesome. It was freaking awesome.
Number 4.
What are you doing? Look at Mins. She's just standing here. If you ever want to know where Mittens is, she's always around. Whether she's around here or she's sleeping behind the camera, she's always here. All right. That being said, and number 4, Mittens. Look what she's doing. Look what she's doing. Shit. Yeah, I'm trying to record. You're not touching this. All right. Number 4. And number 4. This is quite possibly this series of games defines what the PlayStation 3 is. When I played this, I just thought this was an amazing experience. An incredible adventure. Uncharted, Drake's Fortune. This game, it was made by Naughty Dog, the same people that did Crash Bandicoot and Jak and Daxter. At first I thought it was kind of off-putting because they just came from Crash Bandicoot and Jak and Daxter, the cartoony style and everything, so now they're going with realistic, so I was like, whoa, what's going on here? But when I played this game, this felt as close to a Steven Spielberg movie that I've ever played, ever. You play Nathan Drake, he's a treasure hunter. He's got with him Victor Sullivan, who's his confidant, and he's going on a journey to find the fabled lost treasure of El Dorado. A 400-year-old clue in the coffin of Sir Francis Drake sets off Drake on a pulse-pounding exploration for the fabled treasure of El Dorado. The search quickly turns deadly as Nathan Drake begins to uncover mysteries of the island. When I played this game, it was just absolutely fantastic, but at the same time, the controls were like I said, the controls were great. There's nothing wrong with controls, but sometimes the shooting was kind of like wonky, but at the same time, it was like very tough. This game was very tough as well. And they did implement some motion controls, just like how they did with Ratchet and Clank Tools of Destruction, but it was like a little bit here and there. But this was, overall, Uncharted was an amazing game. One of the best, just like what I said with games like Infamous and Enslaved. It was games like this that set it off. When I played Uncharted, it was one of the best games I've ever played, and that style of gameplay with the action-adventure explorations, this was absolutely fantastic. Absolutely amazing. And I absolutely love games like this. Action-adventure 3D platformer, absolutely amazing.
Number 3.
Just when you thought Uncharted was one of the best games you ever played, wait till you check out Uncharted 2 Among Thieves. Naughty Dog is definitely famous for one thing. When it comes to sequels, they definitely capitalize on the momentum from the previous games. And just like with the Crash Bandicoot games and Jak and Daxter games, Uncharted, the momentum just keeps going. In this one, Nathan Drake gets lured back into the treacherous world of thieves and mercenary treasure seekers, and he embarks in a journey to discover the real truth behind the lost fleet of Marco Polo. This game, he's going all over the place. He's going to Tibet, he's going to Borneo, Nepal, and even the Himalayas, all looking for this thing called Lost City of Shambhala. But this game was absolutely fantastic. The environments were absolutely stunning. The graphics were stunning. The gameplay is definitely a step up from the first game. And especially the train scene was just breathtaking. Absolutely breathtaking. This whole game was definitely a step up from the very first one. You meet new characters. You still got Sully with you. And Nathan Drake's just going all over the place. And this game was probably, quite frankly, one of the absolute best games I've ever played on the PS3. And definitely one of the best games I've played of all time. If y'all really haven't tried the Uncharted games, get a PS3 and get them. Because these games, you have to experience them on a PS3 because these were absolutely amazing.
Number 2.
Dude, just when you thought you've seen it all out of this series, they decide to one it up with quite possibly one of the best games I've ever played. Uncharted 3, Drake's Deception. Just when you thought Uncharted 1 and Uncharted 2 were one of the best games you ever played, Naughty Dog kicks it out of the park with Uncharted 3. This one was just absolutely amazing with a capital A. In this game, a search for the fabled Atlantis of the Seas propels Nathan Drake into a desperate bid for survival that strains the limits of his endurance and forces him to confront his deepest fears. Like, this one was absolutely amazing, and the environments in this one, he's going through London, all the way to Syria, Yemen, and Ubar. The controls are just like they were in the first two, and this one just capitalizes on it. The fighting mechanics are pretty cool on it, but it gets redundant after a while. You know what I'm talking about. And the plane scene was breathtaking. Just like how it was for this train scene on the second one, the plane scene was absolutely breathtaking and just left you on the edge of your seat. And I do see some kind of like similarities between Uncharted 3 and Jak and Daxter 3, how they're both in the desert. Naughty Dog definitely has a thing with deserts being in the third game. But all in all, the Uncharted trilogy is absolutely one of the best trilogies I've ever played. Just like with the Crash Bandicoot and Jak and Daxter, and just about any kind of trilogy game that you can think of, like even the Mario trilogy, Sonic trilogy, the Donkey Kong Country trilogy. This is absolutely one of the best trilogies I've ever played, ever. Some of the best games I've ever played. I would definitely do a marathon with all of the Uncharted games because they are that amazing. The writing was great. It feels like a Steven Spielberg movie. It feels like a Robert Zemeckis movie. It feels like a movie that they feel like movies that you would just watch over and over again and pass on to your kids and pass on to your grandkids, because these games were absolutely 100% and amazing. And it's a shame that Naughty Dog is in the position they are right now, but I don't want to talk about that. Talk about the Uncharted games, absolutely amazing, and definitely define the PlayStation 3.
And now, number 1.
Number 1 on the PS3. If it wasn't for this game, the Uncharted games would definitely be number 1. But this game right here, when I first saw this game, when I first heard of it and I saw the gameplay to it, I just thought this was absolutely 100% grade A amazing. And I never thought that I would actually say that this would be number 1. But after playing it so many times, I say this was one of the most played games on the PS3 I ever had, aside from the Uncharted games and all the others. This is quite possibly one of the most unexpected games that I ever seen, and when I played it, it was absolutely amazing. And I also did a video game review on it as well. Excuse me. But here it is, number 1 on the PS3. Batman Arkham Asylum. Batman Arkham Asylum is without a doubt one of the most incredible games, one of the most awesome games I have ever played on the PS3, and quite possibly of all time. You play as Batman, you finally arrest the Joker, and you take him to Arkham Asylum. And then he breaks free, and he's running loose all over the madhouse, and he lets loose all the inmates, and Batman's got to go around finding him. He's fighting all the inmates. He's also encountering all of his enemies like Zaz. He's encountering Killer Croc, Harley Quinn, and even the Riddler. This game, the scope of Arkham Asylum itself, it just felt like you was trapped in a madhouse. Even though you was trapped in with them, they were trapped in there with Batman, because this dude, he's got all the gadgets at his disposal. He's got smoke bombs, he's got X-ray vision, he's sneaking around all over the place like a ninja. He's going up in the ceiling on the gargoyles, just stalking everybody and taking out the bad guys and then leaving without a trace. This game was the gameplay of this game was absolutely amazing. I absolutely loved it because you were Batman. This was a huge step up from the Batman game on the NES. This one, you actually were Batman. This was absolutely amazing. The gameplay was great. The graphics, the music, and the aesthetics of the whole game were amazing and incredible. The voice acting in this game was great as well. But they got Kevin Conroy as Batman. They got Mark Hamill as the Joker. And old girl as Harley Quinn. I keep forgetting her name, so sue me, but you know what I'm talking about. But the voice acting in this game was fantastic. Everything was just great. The environment of it was very fitting for Batman. And this game was, and I did play Arkham City as well, but then I got it. Then I had traded in to get it on the Wii U. But that game was absolutely amazing as well. And that one you got to see everybody. They had everybody. They had Catwoman. They had the Penguin, Two-Face, even Nightwing. But that game was great too. But Arkham Asylum was absolutely amazing and sits atop as my #1 on the PS3. So there you have it. There you have it. DwreckTV's top 10 PS3 games. All right here. Oh, man. Finally, being able to talk about that is a load off me. But I don't want to sound like I'm repeating myself. But all in all, looking back on it, looking back on the PS3, as much as I said that as the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox era was one of the most amazing generations I've ever seen, the Wii, PS3, and Xbox 360 era was just as great because everything was going in full HD. The PS3 had Blu-ray, and the Xbox 360 you can put songs on your hard drives, and especially the motion control with the Wii. This was definitely an amazing era with so much innovations and so much evolution from the past era. You had to be there. You had to be there to experience this whole thing. And especially with a whole bunch of my nephews and a lot of kids were born during this time. Dude, this was an amazing era. I'll never forget it. Especially, it was a very pivotal time for me as well. Like I said, it was in my early, mid to late 20s, getting a job. I got with my girlfriend, now wife, started DwreckTV. All my nieces and nephews were born during this time. It was definitely an amazing time. And then just like doing DwreckTV, I never thought I'd ever still be doing it, but I'm still here. Hey, even with YouTubers like Big Al 2K6, Helsing 920, and Colehand 3000, and Random DCE, some of them are still going. Some did leave YouTube and just dropped off the face of the earth, but I'm still here. But right now, I gotta get me some sleep. My back's still hurting from Power Up. But anyway, this is Dwreck signing out. See you on the flip side.
DwreckTV. Hi guys, hit the notification bell and the like button. Yeah.